Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm the Sports Guru 716 and I hope you enjoyed today's episode of my 2016 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series preview. This will be the last video in the series as I cover what I believe to be the best team in the series right now in Joe Gibbs Racing. As you can see here, the first half we have Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch. Both drivers compete for wins nearly weekly. Kyle Busch more than definitely showed that last year as he won a championship and won 4 races in half a season, not even. He had one of the best Cinderella stories that we've seen, not only in NASCAR but in sports. After he broke his leg, broke his foot in Daytona, and then went on to win a championship after starting the season halfway through, getting into the top 30 in points, racing half the races as people around him in the point standings at the time that he made the chase, which was absolutely exceptional. But with Denny Hamlin, we have a driver that races very well at the short tracks in Pocono, but everywhere else he's kind of mediocre. He has his moments when he races well, but other than that, I think he's going to make the chase. I think he's good for at least 1 win a year, if not 2. And when he moonlights in the Xfinity Series, he does quite well. I think he'll finish in the top 10 in points. He is that middle range top 10 in points. I don't think he will make the final 4 of drivers. However, I do think he will make the chase, and who knows, maybe he gets a second to last round, finishes around, like I said, 5th to 8th place. Now with Kyle Busch, I think he's going to come off this championship season and just keep rolling, because as you can see here, most wins in Xfinity competition, and very high up on the trucks list, if not also the most wins. He has a championship in Xfinity and Cup now, and I just think he's going to keep rolling. He's one of the best drivers in the series. He's definitely one of the most talented. I remember when he was coming up, he would always drive the car on the edge, and he'd lose control often, but loose is fast, and Kyle Busch drives very loose, and he drives very fast, so it works for him. He is one of the best drivers in the series, and it's just no doubt that he's going to probably be in the final 4. Him or possibly Matt Kenseth, his teammate. I think that there's a good chance both make it all the way to the final 4. And I think he's going to have probably 3 or 4 wins again, if not more, because last year he had 4 and he only raced half the season. There's a possibility he could win more than a handful this year. And it's disappointing because I don't like Toyota. I like the Fords, but it's just, you've got to respect that. Like going into the chase last year, going into the final race, it was like, there's so many good stories except for Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick, I didn't really have a emotional attachment to be like, oh, I'd like to see this guy win, you know. You had Jeff Gordon his last season. You had Martin Truex Jr. dealing with his girlfriend's breast cancer in the single car team, and then you had Kyle Busch, a guy that was going through a Cinderella story, and you're just like, oh my God, I could be completely content with this guy winning the championship. And he definitely showed it. He showed he was the best driver in the series last year, and I think everybody needs to be on watch. Joe Gibbs Racing really pushes the limits, and all 4 of their drivers, I think, will get a win this year. And with the second pair of Joe Gibbs drivers, we have Carl Edwards and Matt Kenseth. Now, with these drivers, you have two former Roush car representatives moving over to Toyota over the last 3 years, and they both compete for wins on a constant basis. And Matt Kenseth could have very well made the Final Four last year if it wasn't for him and Joey Logano getting into a lot of garbage towards the end of the chase and causing each other to be eliminated from the Final Four. And he got suspended where Eric Jones took over his car for a couple races. And I'm going to start with Carl Edwards more because I think Carl Edwards is the third best driver in the Joe Gibbs stable, Denny Hamlin being the fourth in terms of going into this season. And like I said, I think they're all going to get at least one win and be in the final, chase. They will be in the chase. And I believe that with Carl, you have a driver that, has an ability to win a race at any given track at any time. Now, whether the car is under him at the time, who knows? And last season was his first season behind the number 19. So this upcoming season will be very interesting as we see what he can do in his second year driving the 19. Now, that's going to be a big thing. Is it going to be a step forward, or are they going to be the same as last year? Because if they're the same as last year, he's probably going to finish around 10th in points with like one win. But if you can take the next step, you have the ability in Joe Gibbs Racing to take the step not only to the second to last round of the chase, but he could make the Final Four. But I really doubt that he makes that huge of a step. Maybe instead of one win, you get two this year, and maybe you finish in that middle range where Denny Hamlin may finish. And in that case, I think that is a step forward. I think Carl could win a championship this in his career, not this season, but in his career. As you can see, he's finished second twice in Cup, 2008, and then tying Tony Stewart in 2011, losing on a tiebreaker because he didn't have more wins than Tony Stewart, in one of the greatest chases of the chase era, if not the best finish that we've ever seen in NASCAR in terms of points. And the Xfinity Series, he has a win. He races every once in a while in there. He doesn't race quite as much ever since he left Roush, in which case he does win very often. Now with the second half of this slide, Matt Kenseth. Now he could win a championship this year, and I wouldn't be at the littlest surprised because he had a very good season last year going until him and Joey Logano got into some trouble on the track that caused Kenseth to be suspended and both of them not to be in the Final Four of the chase. He has a championship in 2003, the last championship in the history of non-chase competition, in which case he dominated the field and won the championship and didn't even have to race at Homestead if he didn't want to win the championship. However, he is Mr. Consistent. Going over to Gibbs, he has been consistently a top 10 car, if not a top 5 car. He had a couple wins last season. And this season, I don't expect anything different but a couple wins as well. And I think that I would not be the least bit surprised if he was in the Final Four going into the Homestead and competing for a championship, because with all four of these Joe Gibbs cars, if you can get there, I would not be the least bit surprised if they won a championship at Homestead because the equipment is that good. Now, it's a matter of them getting there. And with Kenseth, you don't really know if he's going to get there or not, but the thing is, he will. He's just got to keep his nose clean. He can't get in trouble on the track. He used to always be very calm, but ever since going to Gibbs, he's kind of gotten a spur under his butt. So we'll see what happens this season. And I think Joe Gibbs, if he can keep Kenseth in line and keep everybody together, he will have all four drivers in the chase and competing for a championship. And that should do it for my 2016 NASCAR Cup Series preview. I hope you enjoyed. If you've only watched this video, go back and watch all of them, please. I started with, I believe, Tommy Baldwin Racing or BK Racing, and I worked my way all the way up to here. I understand that some of those teams may not be interesting, in which case you don't have to watch any videos, but I did start at like BK Racing and moved all the way up to Joe Gibbs Racing. So thank you for watching. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe for future content. I will upload once a week about NASCAR. So, yeah. Thank you for watching.